Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on stress management technique, um, strategies for a healthier mind and body. We are excited to have you join us today as we explore practical strategies for navigating your personal and professional life. In today's fast-paced world, it's common to feel overwhelmed by various pressures and responsibilities that we have. However, managing stress effectively can enhance your well-being and improve your overall quality of life. During today's session, Dr. Blunt will delve into a range of techniques from mindfulness and breathing exercises to time management tips and the importance of self-care. We encourage you all, when prompted, to participate actively, share experiences, and ask questions throughout the presentation. Remember, you're not alone on this journey, and together we can learn to cope with stress more effectively. Dr. Blunt and I thank you all for being here, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Great morning, everyone. Like you said, I'm Dr. Blunt. I'm excited to be here again to do a presentation today on stress management strategies for a healthier mind and for a healthier body. So to get started today, I kind of want to really kind of outline what the learning objectives are. First off, we want to identify what is stress and their sources. We'll talk about the impact on mental and physical health. Then we're going to learn how to recognize the common signs and symptoms of stress, and then we'll gain some insight on the role that mindfulness and exercise is on our stress reaction. What kind of role? How do they help? What could be good? What's not? Then we'll talk about responding. There is a difference between reacting to something and responding. Responding is having a plan, coming to it with a plan. So we'll explore various management techniques and their benefits, and we'll learn how to implement those relaxation strategies to reduce stress. And then we'll close out today talking about understanding the importance of work-life balance in managing your stress. So kind of to get us started today, I do like active participation. Okay, at least I like active participation. So those that are on the line, I need you to kind of like interact with me. The chat feature is open. If you have questions about something that I talk about or I bring up, by all means, please use the chat feature. And on top of all of that, I like to ask random questions, so I like feedback. Okay, you don't have to necessarily jump on the line or come off mute, but I do like to use the chat feature, so you can type it in the chat for response. So starting off today, we're going to start with exactly understanding stress. By definition, stress is the body's response to demands or threats. It's the body's response. So for those that are out there, what is something that causes stress to you? Put it in the chat section. What is something that causes stress to you? I'll start it off while you all are putting those comments in the chat section. A thing that causes stress for me is this is, I might strike a nerve when I tell folks this. Immature people. That part. Immature people that don't handle things the best way. I won't go into detail of what that means, but I probably got a witness or two out there. I see that we have work, school, kids. Yeah, kids are a major part, work, school, figuring out those things. Anybody else? What is a form of something that might cause stress to you, or something that you just see, maybe not with you, but you see with other folks that are sources of stress? There are two different types of finances. Yeah, finances cause a lot of people stress. I'm gonna throw another one out there: relationships. Whether that is marriage, whether or not it's with parents or family members, relationships cause people a lot of stress. Feel free to please continue to add. There are two different types of stress. There's acute stress, which are short-term, intermediate responses. And then there is chronic stress. Those are long-term, and there are persistent stress. So acute, short-term, something that like in the moment, it's an immediate response. It's a stressor that might not cause a whole lot. Like I was driving to work this morning and I saw a train on the track headed in a direction that eventually I know down the road I have to cross over the train track. So in a moment, there was a part of anxiety or anticipation. That's a small stressor because that meant it was going to put me late for a meeting that I had if in fact it caused me to not be able to cross. So it's a short-term, immediate response to a stressor, and whereby a chronic stress is something that's long term, that is going to be something that's persistently stressing. So sometimes, a type of job that a person has, work, they go and every day when they come in, they have certain things, certain, responsibilities, and they feel like a weight on them. Kids sometimes feel like a weight on them is constantly something extra that they have. It's a persistent. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the same type of stress, but it's a persistent one. So, you have those moments where it seems like it's always something. That is something that's a chronic type of stress. And as I talked earlier about different sources of stress, work, relationships, health issues. Health issues, that is something that can be seen as a chronic stressor. They know that, hey, there might be a health issue in yourself or in a family member, learning how to deal with that. That is a major one that people often don't realize. Hey, when you have a family member or you have contracted or been diagnosed with something, that causes a level of stress and learning how to manage that. Financial problems or life changes. All of these are sources of stress. So when we talk about um, when we talk about signs and symptoms, how do I know if I'm stressed about something? Okay, how do I know? Again, let's use the chat feature real quick. If you are stressed about something in the chat section, tell me, how do you know when you're stressed? What are some things, and this differs from one person to another, so there's no right or wrong answer to this. What is something that happens that tells you, hey, yep, this is kind of bothering me? Okay, blood pressure. You feel like your blood pressure's up. You start breathing. Your breathing increases. Yeah, you get headaches. Kind of like shoulder tension. You feel your muscles are aching. Frequent headaches. Yeah, or restlessness. All these are different things that are signs. I know for me, uh, one of the things is, I might get fidgety, or I notice that I'm kind of anxious about something. That is also a sign. Okay, this is something that is a stressor. Knowing yourself and understanding what you look like on a norm is part of understanding being able to recognize stress. Like physical symptoms, like we said, headaches, fatigue, muscle tension, emotional symptoms, anxiety, irritability. Yep. Now there's a difference between people that seem like they're irritable all the time and when someone who's normally pleasant, all of a sudden they're irritable. Or when you find it on yourself, you wake up in the morning and you're not understanding why you're on edge. You're real irritable. You're short with people. That is a sign that, probably need to look a little bit deeper. Look somewhere else of what's going on. And then depression. When you feel like the enjoyment and enthusiasm that you historically have had with people or with situations just doesn't seem to be the same, it's important to recognize, all right, I'm outside of my norm. Behavioral symptoms, changes in sleep patterns. Like I believe it was Crystal that said restlessness. Yeah, all of a sudden you're tossing and turning. You're not getting a full night's sleep. You're waking up and you're still feeling tired even after you've been asleep. These are all parts of, all right, I need to notice something about me is different. Overeating or a loss of appetite. If you're normally eating one way and you notice either now you just eating just to be eating, and there's some people that they stress eat. It's actually a thing. Whenever they're stressed about something, they feel like they got to put something in their mouth, and they're constantly, and it's an unconscious thing. There are studies that are out there that really talk about, portion control and specifically, not sitting down in front of the TV or while you're engaged in something else, while your mind on something else, and you're eating because you'll consume a whole lot more than what you think that you would, or a loss of appetite, going long periods of time. You're stressing about something and you look up and you realize it's been 6 or 7 hours and you haven't eaten anything. You're at work and you're focused in on something and something's not going right. And because of where you're focused and how you're focusing, things are just, you're not on a routine like you should be. And social withdrawal. That's also a sign. If I'm used to engaging with people and all of a sudden I don't want to deal with people anymore. Like it's now remember there's two different types. There's acute and there's chronic. So incident may have happened and you have withdrawn from that. That's still a source of stressor, but it is also something when you turn around and say, well, I'm disengaging or I don't have the enthusiasm to engage with people collectively. That is also a sign that, okay, socially something else is going on. So it's very important for you to understand and recognize, the signs in yourself or the signs in your friends or your family that, hey, something is outside of the norm. So what do you do? In order to really understand what to do when these things are, you need to understand that there are effects of stressors. They're both short term and they're long term. Short term effects of it can affect your health as well as your well being. Now, in the chat section, y'all know how I am. I like to engage. So, short term, what do you think are some short term effects of stress? Short term effects that could affect either your health or your well being. Please put them in the chat section there. Short term effects. I'll throw out one while you all are putting that in the chat. I believe that sometimes short-term effect could be people not choosing to not engage with you. Some of your friends or family, when you are short-term, they don't want to deal with you. Look, I'm gonna talk to you when you get past this. I don't want to engage with you during this time frame. Short-term stressors. Another one, it could cost you your job. It could cause a loss of something. Okay, short-term stressors. Something that could affect your well-being. Waking up and not being enthused, not enjoying something that you were involved in, not enjoying the moment that you may have been in. Long-term stresses, long-term consequences are things like illness. Long-term thing is something like an illness, yes, or mental health issues. Long-term are more of that chronic type illness. The consequence of that, it can change, your nature of life. It could change how you normally would function. I often tell people that stress is a silent killer because it may not be something that you vocalize on the outside, but it can affect you internally and it can affect you long term wise. So it's important to pay attention to, hey, stress is something that is big. If you're not addressing it, it can, kind of sneak up on you. Trauma events, yes. It may have happened a long time ago and you're still reeling from it, still dealing with it. Sometimes people feel like, well, it happened such a long time ago, I just want to move past it, which goes into impact. It can impact your productivity and your quality of life. I was speaking to someone not long ago, and they were discussing something that happened 20 years ago. And the way that I explained it was, okay, our we cope with things. So coping mechanism is a short-term solution that we use for a problem. It's not a solve. It's just a short-term solution for a problem. And a lot of times we use coping mechanisms to deal with the stressor because we say to ourselves, I don't want to deal with it right now. Well, we were talking and the person had experienced a traumatic event 20 years ago. And I said, imagine 20 years ago you had this event that transpired and you pressed pause because you did not deal with the stressor. You press pause. And you press pause, and this is what happens. Pressing pause is when you do not address the issue or you do not work through the issue. You do not address the feelings. You do not address how you feel. You just press pause. And although you may, on the outside, come to, I'm just going to, act like it didn't happen, or I'm just going to find a way to not address the issue but still move forward. So they press pause, and then for 20 years, they continued to have the interactions, and on the outside, it seemed like everything was going well. However, it impacted their ability to trust. It impacted their way to communicate. It impacted their way on how they weren't able to move forward. So in essence, when they press pause, they actually press pause on them growing on the inside. This is what stresses will do and the impact. So although you feel like I'm just going to get over it and I'm going to be moved past it, without actually addressing the stressor, working through it. And sometimes you need assistance in helping work through it. And I'll talk about that in a few. But without working through it, it was like pressing pause. And then 20 years later, they're wondering why they were still having the issues that they were having or experiencing some of the things that they were experiencing. And this was the reason why, because they never worked through it. Folks, stress can cause a major impact to where you're not performing the way that you thought that you once were, you're not being able to do, or you're not increasing in performance. You're still, and day to day you start feeling like I'm just going through the motions. Nothing's getting better. And your quality of life, like you're no longer finding enjoyment on things that you used to find enjoyment, or you no longer desire to grow and to be better and to develop. That's the impact of stress. So, very important to understand that they affect us in a major way. So, effective techniques. So, here's how we address um, our different techniques. One, time management. Very important. Okay, here's a technique on how to deal with stress. When we look at the clock, we always think that there's never enough time to do the things that we want to do. But really, it's the ability to manage our time. The number one, prioritization. Identify what's urgent versus what tasks are just important. Being able to prioritize. What do I need to address first? What are the most important things? One of my habits that I have that I developed some years ago is I prioritize my top three things that I need to accomplish the next day every night. So like every night I prioritize what I'm going to do. Three are my top three priorities for the next day. So that I wake up already with that on my mind. And then I block out time, allocating specific time slots for tasks and creating an effective schedule. So like I'll say those three tasks. All right, I have until like 2 o'clock, or I got until noon to actually address those. Yes, there are going to be other things that come up, but being able to prioritize what you're going to do so that you don't get into a position where you feel stressed because you have not accomplished what you feel like you should. Time is a major one. And creating an effective schedule, putting it on your schedule. A lot of times people, and I'll throw this one out there about health and fitness. Everybody wants to talk about, well, I want to be in better shape. I want to be better fit than what I am. A large part of that is putting it in your schedule. I operate by a calendar, and I put on my schedule my workout times specifically what day of the week, when I'm going to do it. I plan it the same way I plan everything else. In order to help alleviate stress, you kind of have to prioritize it before you get to it. And it's one thing to address a stressor when it comes, but it's another, all right, let's plan ahead. Let's put things in place prior to. So creating an effective schedule um, and goals. Set realistic goals. Here's what I'm doing. What can you realistically accomplish in that amount of time? Sometimes we set unrealistic goals. You know, I want to lose 20 pounds next week. That's unrealistic. You know, I want to accomplish all of these things at work, you know, next week. And we're, you know, burning the midnight oil trying to do extra when honestly, the only letdown is of ourselves because we didn't set adequate goals. And then avoiding procrastination. Yeah, procrastination is a big one for a lot of people. You know, breaking maybe those goals down into smaller goals. All right, so this might be my goal by Friday, but you know what? Here's what I need to do on Monday. Here's what I need to do by Wednesday, so that I can track it along the way and holding not just yourself, but maybe having someone assist you with holding you accountable so that to time schedules. You know, I always ask, would you, if you did not have a time specific that you were supposed to be at class or be at work, would you be there? You know, that the time that they're telling you you need to be there is actually a way of helping you be more effective with your time. So teaching you how to be better, a better management, or I like the word, be a better steward of your time. It's a large part of addressing stress. So then another technique is relaxation. Oh, yes. Taking a moment and just taking a moment to reset yourself. One of those things is mindfulness. By definition, is saying staying present and aware. Uh, I would encourage a good exercise to do is take your shoes off, be bare feet, walk outside, and just stand in some grass. And really just close your eyes and take in everything that you hear and everything that you feel, from your feet underneath you to the wind that's blowing, not just which direction the wind is blowing, but how does it feel? How does everything that is touching you feel? Being more mindful of that. Deep breathing. There are deep breathing exercises that are out there, uh, body scans that are out there. You know, progressive muscle relaxation. There are, you know, yoga is a good exercise that they do, but meditation, taking moments and focusing on your breathing, taking a breath. One exercise that you use for breathing is you close your eyes and you take a deep breath in through your mouth and then you let it out. You hold it for 2 seconds and let it out through your nose. And it goes like this. You breathe in, 2, 3, hold it, 2, 3, and you let it out slow. 5, 4, 3, 2. And you repeat that exercise. And doing that either at the beginning of the day, maybe before you start a project, to help you reset and recenter. And at the same time, to simply clear your mind. And everything that comes to mind, you just say, okay, I'm going to deal with that in a moment. To help you relax and just listen to the sounds of where you are and what you're doing. This is called guided meditation or mindful meditation. There are plenty of things. There are classes that are offered, things on YouTube that can help guide you of how to do that. Because a lot of the benefits of that is simply it reduces stress and it also enhances your focus. So mindfulness and meditations are huge techniques when it comes to relaxation. Um, in the chat section, are there things that you do for relaxation? What are some of the things that you do? Please share that in the chat section. Another part is building a support system. It's important that you understand both a social and professional help is available. Social support and professional help. One of the things that someone said was reading. Reading is a good source to help with relaxation. Taking a drive, yes. I ride a motorcycle. That is a huge relaxation thing for me. Getting out there on the open road and feeling the wind, but even if it's not a motorcycle, riding a bicycle is another one. Um, Exercise is actually a source of relaxation for me. It allows me to help push out some of the things. Listening to music, yes, working out, taking a long walk. All of these things are good sources of stress relief. Walking the dog, yes. Uh, all these things, thank y'all so much for sharing. All these things are good sources of relaxation. Now, it's equally important to build a support system. Uh, Social support, who do you call? It's important to talk to the right kind of people that are going to support you and encourage you. I always like to say, those friends that you can call whenever, you are ramped up and you're upset or you're agitated about something. The friend to call that's just going to feed that. They get agitated right along with you. But you also have those friends that you call and they're the ones that you, or that person that you call, that they'll bring you back down to earth. They'll help you put it back in perspective. Although I know many of us really don't know each other. Look, let's do a shout out real quick. Put in the chat section that person that you call whenever you need someone that, hey, this has just been my person that I call. They help me bring me back down to earth. They help me put stuff back in perspective. They smooth things out for me. Um, let's do a quick shout out. We all have somebody, but and we rarely sometimes don't tell them. But somebody said their mom. Yeah, their mom is a good source. Your parents are a good source of that person. My dad has been that person for a long time. My wife, someone put wife, their sons. Okay, good sources, people that you can go to and talk to, not just to rant and rave, but someone, hey, this is not just for you to vent, and we have those people. I have a best friend that sometimes we call each other just to vent. But you also have that person that said, okay, now that you've gotten that out of your system, how do you feel? All right, now let's bring it back down. How do we feel? How are we going to move forward? So, joining support groups or communities, if you don't have someone, there are support groups that are out there. There are communities that are out there of someone that you can talk to. Seeking professional help from therapy or counseling, all benefits. There are a lot of benefits of seeking professional support. Going to someone that, hey, they're not going to push their issues off on you, but they allow you to share yours and help put them in perspective. We don't always necessarily have the friends or the family that can give us those things. Sometimes our friends or family add to our stress, and they're not the person that we can give. But we all need someone to be able to give those things to. So many times I deal with folks, and they're the strong one. They're the one that always everybody comes to them. So that is equally important that they have someone that they can go to. So building a strong support system is important. Healthy lifestyle. Y'all know I couldn't pass this. I kind of talked about it earlier. All of these are strategies for a healthier mind and body. Having a healthy lifestyle. Now, it starts with regular exercise. Look, 20-minute walk every day. That's a simple one. Okay, I'm part of the 5 a.m. Club, so I'm at the gym early in the morning. It's whatever routine works for you. And sometimes it's right after work. Sometimes it's in the evening. Maybe got to put the kids to bed. It may not be at a gym. It may be just at the house. It may be walking around the neighborhood, maybe walking the dog. Whatever it is, just having a regular exercise routine. That is a large part of helping your body process the stress because we take on a lot on a daily basis. Healthy diet, the importance of nutrition and mental health. I can't talk about that enough. That what you put in your body, hey, paying attention to those things because Some of that just adds to it. If I'm already having stress about how I look, uh, you know, not eating the right things doesn't help that. So maybe consulting with someone or revisiting that, making sure you have a balance of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains in your diet is important. And of course, adequate sleep. Making sure, the recommended 7 to 9 hours per night. Making sure you get that good uninterrupted rest. I always call it, my 3-2-1 method. 3 hours before you go to sleep, you start shutting things down. You don't eat 3 hours before you sleep. The last thing that you eat, 3 hours before you go to sleep. 2 hours before you go to sleep, then you start shutting down social media and TVs and everything else. And the last hour, you're really just focusing in of relaxation, making sure you get in the mode so that you can get real rest. So many times, if you really look into sleep, and there are different phases of sleep and different realms. So many people don't get adequate sleep because even after they close their eyes, their mind is still running because they leave the TV on, they have the radio on, and they have all these different things going on. And I used to be that person, and I had to have it in order to go to sleep. At least that's what I told myself. Uh, but when you look at studies and how important it is for your body to regenerate, and it's a process, not just of things from the day, but to regenerate so that you can be fully productive for the next day. Sleep is a major factor in that. Okay. Um, Develop positive coping strategies. They are both constructive and unconstructive. Um, Exercise, meditation, deep breathing, spending time in nature, talking to a trusted friend, all of these things are things that we've talked about. Those are constructive ways, constructive strategies to deal with stress. Now, unconstructive are things that are not healthy for you, like substance abuse. It's okay to, if you choose to have a drink, but when you go to abuse it, when you're using it outside of what it was designed, it becomes abuse. Okay? Excessive social media use. It can actually be, unconstructive. It can not help you. It can actually cause stress instead of helping you in dealing with stress. Unhealthy eating habits, we talked about that earlier. Avoidance, not wanting to deal with things. And then self blame when you are, victimizing yourself because of, the shame or the guilt from previous things that honestly you cannot change. So, being able to recognize what am I doing that's working for me, and what am I doing that's not really being productive for me. Again, what am I doing that works for me, is helping me, and what am I doing that's really being unproductive for me. And the things that are being unproductive for you is developing strategies, going to folks to find out, all right, how can I be better at this? You do this by one, not just jumping into things, but creating a personal stress management plan. It starts with one, assessing yourself. Okay? Assessing what you're doing, assessing how you're doing it, um, and from there, implementing strategies of exercise, relaxation, and management, and action plans, setting goals for stress reduction. All right, so how are we going to do this? Here's what I'm going to do this week. Here's what I'm going to do that way. A lot of times I've worked with clients about, hey, you need to plan time for yourself. You need to put time in your schedule to make sure you're taking care of you and you're doing the things for yourself. And then every now and then to sustain, you need to always go back and revisit. I like to call it do a self audit. You go back and you look and say, okay, what am I doing that's working? And what am I doing that next time I need to do it a little bit different? And regularly evaluating your progress. Is this helping me? If it's not, okay, let's revisit. What do we need to do different? And make whatever adjustments are needed, but never stop doing anything. A lot of times I'm going to the gym, but I'm not seeing the results that I want. So we stop going to the gym altogether. or I've been eating good for a couple weeks and I'm not seeing a difference. So instead of changing up what you're doing, they just, well, I'm gonna just go back to eating whatever, or I'm not going to the gym at all. Well, that's not productive. We go back and we look at, so okay, so how are we doing this? Every couple months, I'll go back and reevaluate my workout routine. All right, what do I need to do different? Just so that I don't get bored with it. What you're eating, you don't want to get bored with it. You can't eat salad every day. You can't eat restricted everyday diets are only intended to be short term. They're not intended to be long term. Creating a healthy lifestyle means what habits can I create that I'm willing to stick to and keep up long term. So today we talked about quite a few different things. We talked about understanding stress and recognizing its effect on us, and how if we don't deal with it, okay, that it be majorly impactful for us, and it can occur long term for us. We talked about applying management techniques, relaxation, mindfulness, meditation, and we talked about making sure you get a good social circle or professional help. It's okay to seek help. I often tell people it's okay to not be okay, but what's not okay is to not get the help that you need for it. So hopefully today there's something that jumped out to you. Um, and I always like to open up the floor for a Q&A if there's any questions that anyone has on stress management, or comment about something that might have jumped out to them. Please put it in the chat. I'd love to take a couple moments and kind of share that. While I'm doing that, or management, maybe it's something that's working they want to share. And I always like to share my contact information. Um, if you are interested, uh, in seeking help or getting directed on some help, I always find an enjoyment to be able to share with folks about different techniques and different things that help any way that I can. And if there are no questions, then Ms. Cushionberry, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay, guys, so this concludes our presentation for today. Again, I want to thank you all for attending. And these webinars will be hopefully uploaded to our website on our new mental health page that we have available. It should be up, or I should say live, before the end of this week, I'm being told. So if you like to revisit the videos, they will be on the website for later playback. Thank you all again for attending, and thank you, Dr. Blunt, for facilitating today's